Welcome to the Laboratory, a video series brought to you by Miracles Innovation Labs.
Welcome everyone. In this video, let us understand about OIDC, often referred as OpenID Connect, a secure way of user authentication and authorization. Let me introduce myself. I'm Kilapati Yuvashekhar, working as a Junior Research Associate Next-Gen team in Miracle Software Systems. The agenda for this video is as follows. First, I would give a brief introduction to OpenID Connect. Secondly, we would discuss differences between authentication and authorization. And on third, we would be getting to know about the key role of OAuth 2.0. And we will understand how the authentication flow of OIDC works, following by listing out benefits of OpenID Connect. And in the end, we would be looking into live demo of OIDC. For introduction, we all know about OAuth 2.0, which is used for user authentication. Now, OIDC, being an identity layer, sits on top of OAuth 2.0 that provides a standardized protocol for user authentication and authorization. It also issues an ID tokens containing claims about user identity. And these tokens are used to prove that a user is authenticated by a trusted IDP. In a gist, we can say OIDC allows third-party applications to verify the identity of end user and helps to obtain basic user profile information. Let us discuss differences between authentication and authorization. To provide just access to the system or application that involves identity confirmation is known as authentication. Whereas in authorization, on top of authentication, it helps us to determine what actions or resources a particular user is allowed to do. The purpose of authentication is just to confirm whether the user is indeed a legitimate user or an owner of that identity or not. On the other hand, authorization's main purpose is to ensure that the user have access to the resources and functionality that they are allowed to use. Let us understand with an example. For authentication, when a user logs into web application using their Google or Facebook account, in which user identity is verified using a username and password. For authorization, once a user is authenticated, it means it provided the username and password. They are assigned with special ID token that defines which resources the user can use or access. For OAuth 2.0 is an industry standard protocol for authentication. It focuses on client developer simplicity and also uses the authorization and authentication mechanisms of OAuth 2.0. It also issues an authentication token. In context, we can say that it is known as JWT, JSON Web Tokens. And also for security reasons, they have a limited time of validity. So OAuth 2.2 issues tokens similar to OIDC, but the token validation limit is restricted, means have a limited time of validity throughout the time. Let us understand about the key components of OIDC. First, the end user or the resource owner who owns the actual identity and interacts with the system or client. The client is the application or a system for which the end user tries to gain access for. Authorization server. It's a simple OAuth 2.0 token minting machine or engine. An identity provider is responsible to issue identity tokens to user, and access tokens are the artifacts that provides or proves that the user has been authenticated, or we can say it is a key to open locks. The token endpoint is where your app can get access token once the consent for the user has been granted. Scopes. We can describe them as mechanisms that limit the access of requesting party to users' resources. And redirect URLs. These are the URLs to which login pages redirect once the application gains access to issued ID tokens. Noise. These are nothing but a parameter in OIDC that is crucial for associating a client session with the ID token, and it is used for mitigating replay attacks. Let us understand the authentication flow of how an OIDC works. So the user clicks on a login link which is already been provided. And application in turn generates a code verifier and a code challenger. And along with that, it packs up and send a request to identity provider. So once the identity provider got the code request and the code challenger, it redirects to a login page along with an authorization prompt that is provided to user. Once the user authenticate and gives consent to login to the identity provider, then the identity provider provides the authorization code to the application. Now, whenever user makes any changes or interacts with the application, now along with the change and request, authorization code and verifier to OAuth or token would be sent to identity provider back, and it validates the code verifier and code challenger again. Once it is done, it sendbacks means the identity provider sendbacks the ID token and access token to the application. Now, whenever the user make changes in the application with that requires an API calls would be sent along with the access token or the ID token provided by the identity provider. And the API gives a response. So that's how briefly an authentication flow works in OIDC. So let us understand the benefits of OIDC. It provides a secure user authentication. From the flow, we already know that how security is not only a two-factor thing in OIDC, but a multi-layer item. Second, a user-friendly single sign-on. Third, an interoperability. Since OIDC is sitting on top of OAuth 2.0, it provides a fantastic interoperability from other applications or systems. Fourth, standardization. Since OAuth 2.0 being a standard protocol all over the industry, the wrapper of OIDC, which sits on top of OAuth 2.0, also acts like same. Consent and user control. So the user control and consent is the core of OIDC, where we provide particular scopes to user and benefits the user in such a way that he has access to his own resources and has an isolated environment created on for his own. Reduced password fatigue. Whereas OAuth 2.0 password expires in a limited amount of time, whenever a request is made through OIDC, the password itself recalibrates and extends the validity of the password. Being an interoperable and standardized protocol, OIDC now supports for mobile and web applications as well. And by the time I was recording this video, we have OAuth 2.0, but the research on OAuth 2.1 is being commenced on. So enhanced security practices would also be implemented in this one. And one more thing is claimed base user data as a response. So the issued ID tokens would contain the user profile, and based on that, user data would be provided. And in a summary, OIDC simplifies user authentication in web application as well as mobile application through single sign-on across multiple places. And moreover that, it supports a third-party identity providers providing us opening to various other identity providers to associate with the OIDC. It uses JSON Web Tokens for data integrity. And since it implemented on top of OAuth 2.0, it provides a secured and standardized way of authentication which is widely adopted across the industry as a standard. Since the development is still going on and OAuth 2.1 is under research, the strong community support which provided is also provided for OIDC2. Since it has an enhanced user convenience and data protection, it is being an ideal for mobile application development, prioritizing user privacy and security. Let us get through the live demo of OpenID Connect. We are using React OIDC context module. Using this module, we can add any type of Active Directory. In this demo, I would be using Azure Active Directory.
By looking at the screen, you have a question that OpenID Connect only work for web portals. No. And also a question, does the OpenID Connect work for native and mobile applications? Yes, there are already system level APIs built into the Android operating system to provide OpenID Connect services. OpenID Connect can also be accessed by interacting with the built-in system browser on the mobile and desktop platforms. And a variety of libraries are under construction to simplify this process.
Now clicking on the Azure button redirects me to Microsoft login page served by Azure. Let me type in my credentials for login. Once I've entered my email, I click on Next. The ID code. So once I've entered my email, it would ask me an ID code. So I'll go to my inbox, copy that ID code, and paste it over here. Once a successful ID verification is done, Azure tenant will send an ID token and access token to OIDC module. And with the help of those tokens, we are able to get these information. Now, the module follows the PKCE flow, aka Proof of Key Code Exchange flow. It helps our application from interception attacks.
By this, we can have a question like who can be an identity provider or an OpenID provider. So the OpenID Connect protocol designs are open to encourage an open ecosystem for identity providers. While the leading identity providers are currently large cloud service providers such as Google and Microsoft, OpenID Connect enables many kinds of OpenID providers for websites, application, clients, and devices, and much more. And all these things are covered in one place. We have another follow-up questions where whether OpenID Connect is safe enough or it is like privacy preserving. So let me answer that one too, where OpenID Connect identifies a set of personal attributes that can be exchanged between the identity providers and the apps that use them, and includes an approval system also known as authorization. So the users can consent or deny the sharing of the information. By this, we can firmly say that the OpenID Connect is indeed a privacy preserving service method.
Here is a simple way by which one can integrate an OIDC module. For doing that, we need to import React OIDC context module. We have to provide authority URL, client ID, and redirect URL here to configure our OIDC module. And once the components are declared and whatever components are there should be in the wrapped auth provider tags. Thank you. That's all for the video. Hope you liked it.
Thank you for watching The Laboratory, a video series brought to you by Miracles Innovation Labs. For more on innovation, please visit miraclesoft.com/thelabs.